this in conjunction with our social studies teacher, Stacy McQuarrie, and she's not here. She does not like public speaking. So I said, okay, you help me do the hard parts, I'll do the easy part. I'll talk for us. So she did not come. Actually, we have about 75 students, give or take a few, depending on what day of the year it is. So in conjunction with her, we have studied Cumberland Gap. We've studied the settler's journey through the Gap, historical figures like Daniel Boone, historical settlements like Hensley Settlement that you see at the Cumberland Gap State Park. In science, we studied all of the layers of the earth, the atmosphere in each layer. We made 3D models with Play-Doh of the layers of the earth using different colors. We cut them so the students could see the different layers that stack up and they could see into the core. So you'll see pictures of that as we go through. Then we also, when we went on our trip, after we studied all of the layers of the earth, we studied rocks and minerals extensively. They loved it. And then we got to actually talk to our guide through the cave about what kind of stones were in there and what made those unique and how close were we to the other layers of the earth and things like that. And also we got a lot of the rich history with the war history there, and we got to see some of the what we would now call graffiti, but the markings inside of the cave that dated when the earlier settlers were actually there. So this is just an overview of the park and stuff from their website. It tells you about the tour and how long it takes and those sorts of things. The kids really liked the fact that they learned about Daniel Boone, and to get to the cave, we actually walked along part of the wilderness road, and we could see how the formed. We could over the mountain, and we could see the river, and they could not believe that what they learned in one place went somewhere else. So they really liked that. The science standards, these are, I think this is the new science standard. I'm not 100% sure. That may have came from the old one because the newer ones are more of the engineering type standards. Although they do have the biological standards and the earth science standards, they're much more in depth with the new engineering standards now rather than whenever I wrote this. I was looking at it more when I was doing the science part of it as an earth science, something that I felt like I could make concrete, something we could do, see, something that would take us out of the classroom. So they had to understand, analyze, and interpret historical events and determine how those things, how the science and the lay of the land affected the historical events. We also took a trip, this was the same day, when we went to the Cumberland Gap State Park, and we took a cave, and after lunch, Abraham Lincoln Memorial Museum. This is just a little from there about the history of the museum. And they also thought that was really cool because they got to see the real things that this man from Kentucky that they idolized had used or had collected. Social studies standard that Ms. McQuarrie focused on was that the students would recognize and understand the relationship between people and the geography in our region and apply their knowledge in real life situations such as hiking or traveling, any type of traveling. The students studied historical figures, like I said, in Ms. McQuarrie's class, such as Daniel Boone and Abraham Lincoln in the class. As well as the journey on Wilderness Road. They studied early Kentucky settlements like Hensley Settlement located within Cumberland Gap and compiled a book about the historical figures. That was on paper, but they also used technology with that, searching it, typing it, printing it out, but they actually illustrated on the paper copy. They extensively studied layers of the earth in my class. We discussed the characteristics of each layer. We also did many open responses. Their favorite one, I think, for the whole year was pretend you were on a journey to the center of the earth. What would your journey be like? Use all 5 of your senses. Tell me everything. What does it look like? What does it sound like? How does it feel? Do you taste anything? All those sorts of things. And we studied the rock cycle. And we studied the different types of rocks. I actually allowed them to bring rocks that they found and try to determine what category of rock those might fit into and which layer of the earth those kinds of rocks would be found. And they really liked the lab that we did, the Starburst rock cycle. You can find many examples of that on YouTube. I did not take pictures of that because I was so invested myself with watching them have fun. So I wish I would have taken pictures of that for you to see, or a video, but I don't have that on here. Okay, right now we are in the project stage because we actually just went on our field trip last week. So students are completing their culminating project right now, the Integrated Science and Social Studies. They are doing a 3D depiction about whichever was their favorite part of the trip, whether it be the cave, the hike, the museum, or something else in between. I have one student that really wants to do the restaurant. I'm trying to talk him out of it, but he is very adamant that he wants to talk about his pizza. So, anyway, they also are going to do a narrative. And again, I'm working with Stacy on this, so they will have actually 2 class periods a day to work on this. The projects are due on Friday, so they're going to do their 3D representation about their favorite part of the trip. And then you can see the criteria for a narrative. They're going to do a narrative. It has to include the name of their 3D representation. I suggested a diorama because I feel like they can come up with, 4th graders can come up with something that small. You know, I don't want them to feel like it has to be elaborate. They have to have at least 10 facts in their narrative about the place or the thing that they're describing. And their narrative must be at least 1 page, double spaced, and 12-point font. And they'll also give an oral presentation about their place and show it whenever they have their 3D representation done, which should be on Friday. Here's some classroom photos. That's my favorite one that we took of the diagram of the earth, the layers of the earth. This is when they're compiling their book. That is the Rocks and Fossils chapter. We use websites like Brain Pop Junior a lot in a Science and Social Studies class. Here we are studying rocks, and this is another one of where they're writing things for their book. And last time that I presented here, the biggest question that anybody had for me on the feedback pages were, why is this innovative? You did not use technology any more than anyone else would. So why is this innovative? What does this have to do with the next gen standards? Well, my thing is, I have to look at what innovative means to my students, not everybody's. So, according to the dictionary, the word innovate means to introduce something new or different. So, you can go to the next slide. So the basis of my project was not to use technology per se, although we did. It was actually to allow my students an experience that they wouldn't normally have. According to our 2013-2014 school report card, 71.1% of our students are in poverty, based on the data collected. So this field trip was innovative for our students because the children in our area are not exposed to the vast world around them. Their parents' jobs have declined. Many of them have moved away. The ones that are still there have their hours cut due to the coal mining industry. And this provided them opportunities that they may not have otherwise had available. We also think that it will eventually encourage them to learn more about historical events, how those events and how the lay of the land affected our area, and maybe even encourage them into those fields for their career path.